Hello everyone, I'm Adam Stolfo, the co-writer and director of Alaina.
Oh, and I'm Damon Quah. I should introduce myself. Also co-writer and assistant director.
This is the opening scene of the film, shot at Templestowe, Melbourne. A lot of familiar faces here.
Yeah, and just a quick note, of course, Gene's first movie.
Did a fantastic job.
Sensational, so couldn't have been happier.
There's a bit of bone of contention coming up, Damon, with this shot that's coming up, which we shot over the top of Jean down into the water with her legs dangling in the water.
I like to call it the raging bull shot, just because I was a bit worried when we were first shooting that shot. We didn't have it on the storyboards, I don't think. Not too sure.
I think it's coming up now. It's the shot looking over the top of Jean. But when Damon saw it cut into the final film, he was very impressed.
Yeah, I thought it was fine afterwards, but just at the time we were sort of doing this shot, I was just a bit worried it was going to be this long close-up of the legs, sort of a bit provocative and distracting for the audience, but worked out fine in the end.
And the underwater scene, half the budget of the film right here.
Harboring a secret desire.
And the camera, that was an absolute bitch to try and obtain that, wasn't it, Damon?
Yeah, headache of all headaches with the underwater housing and insurance and whatnot. I'm sure you could go into that a bit more.
It was absolutely freezing as well.
And everyone's gone. What's going on?
Something about the colour in this film I really like. A lot of greens, a lot of blues.
One day.
Comes out really bitchy.
You can sort of see the barbecue in the background there, hopefully, with the smoke going off it.
And how did we create that smoke, Damon?
The butter bitch, which is Michael Hadgen, the assistant director. He's putting a huge wad of butter on that barbecue there, so that was a bit of amusement for us.
And those floaties there as well caused us massive continuity problems.
If you look closely, you might see Hadgen on the side of the frame here. Just kidding. But yeah, there's a few shots there that Hadgen snuck into.
I think 4 of the best takes of that particular shot, Hadgen was actually in the frame.
Yep, just in his bathers there with no shirt on, just sort of standing there staring up into space. Quite
Exactly. And this scene coming up here, we just wanted to clarify for anyone who was wondering, this is in fact Alaina's house. Someone asked me at one stage whether or not she was just attending a pool party or whatnot, but this is supposed to be her house, although it's never really touched upon that clearly.
So it's left pretty open. It's not really important. It's up to the audience to sort of, is it, isn't it? Yeah, not really a concern for us.
And here we are. We've jumped from Templestowe to North Balwyn, and that was because of the style of houses that we had in this particular sequence. Kind of matched with the houses that we had during some of the exterior shots in Williamstown.
There's one of my favourite shots in the movie right there. Just thought that's a really elegant over-the-shoulder shot. Wasn't there for the day of shooting, of course, which...
Well, it was actually one of the last scenes to be shot in the film, so...
Just the difficulty getting that location. It was a bit of a last-minute thing, sort of scouting that one out, wasn't it?
That's right. Now, the whole idea behind this scene was that the driver of the car has actually disappeared. It's pretty self-explanatory, although some people have questioned this, wondering what the hell is actually going on.
So, just like he had his handbrake on. And yep, there was my car in the background there of that shot that just went by, that red car in the back, which we'll see later in the movie.
For you trivia buffs out there.
Chugging along, good old bomb.
Now, this is a scene that was actually taken out of the shorter version of the film, and some people don't miss it, but I quite like it because of this next shot, which is coming up. I like the way that it starts. It's light in the foreground and dark in the background. She kind of walks into the darkness. I know it doesn't have that much relevance to the film, but I kind of like it myself.
I guess wishes really can come true.
And we're at the restaurant already, so...
Dunyazard. My dad actually designed the interior of this place.
Okay, and there's the bottle opener sitting there, which was originally going to be a cigarette burning.
That was taken out simply because you're not allowed to smoke in restaurants. It was simply that.
So, no, I'm so glad that's actually changed. It's a lot more subtle as well, sort of a bit too much of a novelty having a cigarette there, I think. Yeah. And here she is into the kitchen with the burning sausages. She's coming up to take that glass of water, which is one of my favourite things to pick on. 36-degree day here we're shooting, and Jean was giving us grief, complaining, making her drink a glass of water on the day.
She actually asked us for Coke instead of water.
So, but yeah, most taps don't provide Coke for you. So
Jean will kill us when she listens to this, but...
So if you watch closely here, she's not actually drinking it.
I think she takes a sip, but she's struggling, and
Yeah.
that's the only person I know who doesn't want to drink water.
She didn't like the taste or something. It's something very bizarre, but not to worry.
And I think this is take number 16 of this particular shot, if I can remember. There was at least 14 or 16 takes or something of this particular shot, simply because of the cars in the background and the shadows.
And we had to move the camera to this position. Originally we were trying to shoot across toward the window, but we had a mirror giving us grief as well.
And that's you driving there, Damon, as well.
Yep, here's my old, good old shitbox, the good old Camaro that I still drive, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm sure the post guys will touch on this a little bit more, a little bit later on in their commentary, but the entire sound field of this scene was actually built from scratch because the audio was just completely unusable.
So yeah, I love watching this scene just because it's my car, so hearing the new sounds, it just sounds so much groovier.
Something I never liked about it, Damon, was the amount of smoke. And my dad said he could get me a smoke machine for this, and instead we had to use burning incense, which was a little bit disappointing. It's not really that much
Tiny
smoke.
bit
It's
underplayed,
there.
yeah.
It's there, but anyway,
Being saved by them.
have to make do with what you've got.
No, it worked. It still worked, so it's still fine. But
It was a very challenging scene to shoot this one. It took a long time and drained us all physically and emotionally, I think.
yeah, we had the garbage trucks coming past. We had to wait for cars driving around. Jean punishing my car. There's your car too, Adam. She just
right.
jumped into.
And here we are at Alaina's place of work.
Apparently, the thing you
Now there's an interesting shot coming up here, Damon, where we actually shot Jean from a room off to the side. And the whole idea behind that was to create the illusion that maybe she wasn't in the world on her own.
But now that things have
Yeah, it gives the audience the sort of the feeling that they're sort of looking in, sort of spying almost.
And you can see all the desks there as well, like a lot of stuff going on them. And then you move over to here to Alaina's desk, and it's completely devoid of any loose items or any personality.
So of course, going with our sort of subtle loneliness, not really to be obvious for the audience to pick up on, really, just to sort of add to the atmosphere.
It's a very long shot, but I think what she does here is really good.
Wasting the lives of everybody else.
And she gets up and moves along to her boss's office. Well, that's what it's supposed to be anyway. And between these two shots here, we jump from Hawthorne to Camberwell. Completely different office building.
Okay, coming up here we have Alaina's about to pick up a photo. What we assume is the boss and his family. So this is just a tie-in here with a personal connection of the world that was lost, so to speak. So obviously there's no people left, and she's having a look at it.
That's my cameo as well. My whole family cameo in that part, actually.
It's like a 10-year-old photo of you guys, but I was just like, particularly about this scene, the way she sort of shrugs it off. She's trying to sort of disregard that and sort of not let it touch her emotionally, and she's just sort of putting her feet up on the desk, sort of get some comfort and satisfaction out of that.
And here's our surveillance camera shot. We use a different lens, a fisheye lens, to create this effect. Here at the Westgar Theatre.
Quite like that shot.
This was the day from hell, if you remember, Damon.
Yep, I definitely remember that this day. It's just nothing was going right. We had it storyboarded. I don't think anything really fitted in with what we actually storyboarded beforehand. We just sort of improvised afterwards.
It was also an absolute pain to edit, if I remember. And Chris will probably tell you a little bit more about that later.
Okay, there's Jean switching a switch that doesn't actually do anything, but that's all right. It looks good on the screen.
And here's the sole visual effects shot of the entire movie there. And we're coming up to the auditorium scene featuring Michael Hadgen's now famous sound effect from a film called Zombie Nights, if I can remember correctly.
That's right. It's a mock-up of a horror movie where he's, what is it, a monster voice, a victim voice, and whatever else, and they're all him playing with sounds. And
she didn't actually have any popcorn there either. That's how cheap we were. Couldn't even get her any popcorn. All right, now this is a pivotal scene in the film.
Should I eat low-fat meals?
It's extremely different from the way it was originally written. Originally, Alaina was going to be in a supermarket looking at vitamins or something like that. But it became important to us to kind of show Alaina in the only safe place in the world, which really would be her bedroom.
Yeah, just to put it back in her own environment, to give the audience a bit of insight to her again, and also just that personal throwback as well. You'd sort of go back to your own room.
And the cityscape was very important to this shot as well. And this was actually another scene which changed dramatically from the original script. Originally it was going to be a rooftop, then it changed to an apartment. And one of the most popular scenes in the film is just about to come up now. The Porsche scene. And of all the questions that I've been asked about this film, everyone wants to know, where did you get the Porsche? Simple as that. And that was from a contact from our cameraman, James Manderson.
And there's Jean driving the Porsche quite well there.
She wishes she wishes she could drive a manual, firstly, so...
Yep, she wasn't letting her in any other car after what she did to mine, so...
Alright, very important scene, the church scene.
Yep, this is like the linchpin of the movie in my opinion. I love this scene. I think it's quite important. It's quite ordinary looking. I mean, it's just very bread and butter, simple shot, long shot of her, 2 long shots of her. But basically just bringing in those, the element of regret, which is, she's obviously regretting what's happened.
It's very powerful visually as well. Like, the voiceover says one thing and the visuals say another.
Yep, the juxtaposition of those two, where basically she's saying that she's, glad and happy, but the scene says something else, so the audience draws that conclusion. And
the key make or break scene, the final scene, the scene that decided the film's fate, pretty much. I mean, if the final scene didn't work, the whole film didn't work.
Yep, it was over if this scene was bad, basically. This scene was...
I think, the importance of having some of these actors who absolutely sold this scene and did it absolutely brilliantly was pretty much the key to the entire film. And and we didn't have long to film it either, if I remember. It was all under the pump.
We came back again another day, like right at the end, to capture this shot right here, this close-up.
Which is, this was actually it's the last scene in the film, the last shot of the film. That was the very last thing that we shot, so.
And there you go, that's Alaina.
Is mine.
And for those people that are wondering, yes, she is in fact dead. It's a very dark film, I do admit that. It's a very dark tone to the end there.
So yep, that's just the definitive coming from us that she definitely is dead there. But I always like to think there is a tiny glimmer of hope for those stubborn optimists in the church scene. You've got that sort of element of redemption, so maybe she's sort of praying and she has got a chance. But
the way it was written, no, it's a dark tone. She does commit suicide, and a lot of people might have a problem with that, but
she's dead.
She's dead. Well, it couldn't have happened without the help of so many people. Too many people to thank, really. So
we'll see all their names whizzing by, but great performance by Jean, all the cast and crew.
Jean is actually a comical actor, believe it or not, so we really do admire the work that she does in this particular film. But that's pretty much all we have to say. So Damon, we'll let the other people talk now, the other important crew members. So
hope we were fairly interesting, had some insights for people to come away with. But apart from that, that's a wrap, I guess.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks very much.